Across the country Ghana, over 26,000 lives are ensnared in a silent battle. This is a tale that resonates in the quiet corridors of darkness, a longing for light. The need for transplantation legislation and an eye bank in Ghana. Meet Daniel Bassey, an award-winning music producer and sound engineer, whose symphonies and massive contributions to Ghana music industry almost became a distant memory due to corneal blindness. Daniel's symphonies, vibrant and alive, were given a second chance through a costly yet life-changing surgery. But for many Ghanaians, this chance remains elusive.
I realized that when I looked into my computer, seeing the things was very difficult. In fact, very, very difficult. It was blurry. So it was very tedious. So I went to the eye center, and then they told me I have this disease, cornea. They call it keratoconus. That was what they told me, and then they told me that I need to do a surgery for that. In fact, I was afraid. So about 10 years, I didn't do it. Over 10 years, I was very, 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 very afraid doing the surgery. And then every day that I come to the office I realized that seeing things on the computer is very difficult for me. In fact, even night driving, I couldn't drive at night. So any time I have to find someone to drive me in the night wherever I want to go. So it was very, very, very tough for me. In fact, I don't wish that anybody will go through such problem because it's very, very, very stressful. The busa cornea no transplant no bono. And I'm saying, hey, because that time no now more stress is over $2,000. Auto tissue na so on also me battle who say hey. Now when you back up $2,000, now say oh yeah na say anye ya na sika no so eku. Finally no. Na me gather of him say me tutu susua na me call Dr. Amwa. Dr. Amwa was the one who did my cornea transplant for me. So me call him say doctor, afi dey menya vim adeno me ye. Ono kra no ene china o hye me na me ntimi and saa na me gather of him na kese
I met Dan about 3 years ago after several decades of significant visual impairment from a condition called keratoconus. From my interaction with him, I got to know that he might have suffered this from childhood because my examination revealed he has signs of what we call vena keratoconjunctivitis, which is a chronic allergic eye condition that complicated into the keratoconus, which rendered him virtually blind. The visual impairment resulted in very reduced productivity. He's a music producer and a sound engineer who has produced many artists in Ghana, and his vision problems rendered him virtually non-productive. Some of his friends testified to the fact that a job that he could do in 30 minutes used to take him weeks because of his visual impairment. So somebody referred him to me. Immediately I saw him. After my assessment, I realized he will benefit from cornea transplant. But that is when we got so much hit by the non-availability of tissue in Ghana. This is a young man who, because of his visual impairment, has virtually been rendered non-productive from a career, a career that could generate him a lot. So he had to struggle to gather some money for us to get tissue from the US for him. We did a first surgery in December, and that turned his life around. Just after doing a cornea transplant for one eye, his vision so much improved. This got him so encouraged that after 6 months, the following year, he could gather some money again for us to do the second eye. And now, he's back to his old days. He's back to a high productive life. And most of his friends testify to the fact that his life has changed. That is the impact that successful cornea transplant surgeries produce. Now in Ghana, just as it is clear from Dan's story, we are impaired, we are hindered significantly by the non-availability of local tissue. People don't have enough financial resources to get a tissue from abroad. And that is a significant hindrance in our bid to render good vision to people who are suffering from blindness due to corneal causes.
Meet Senanu, a young man who lost his sight in an unfortunate attack over a decade ago, and Albert Agbaji, whose vision dimmed when he lost the use of his right eye after a hunting accident as a teenager. His only remaining light will be dimmed further when his left cornea got infected right after secondary school. Their stories, intertwined by the waiting, the socio-economic hardship it brought, and the simple longing for light. A story shared by the over 26,000 souls scattered across the length and breadth of the country. Finally, their moment came. A transplant, a gift of vision, made possible by the generosity of HCP Cure Blindness, an international ally in the fight against corneal blindness in Ghana. In the tapestry of Ghana, let us weave a brighter future. The need for a legal framework and an eye bank illuminates the path towards a brighter future for those touched by corneal blindness. Let's unite. Let's make a difference.
I'll use this platform to plead to our authorities. Having corneas outside or to import corneas into our country, there should be a law for people to sign any organs of their choice that can be given or can be donated to the living. If it's possible that other countries are donating cornea to help our system, what are we wasting our corneas in the country for? Just let it go into the grave and that's all. So I plead and urge the authorities to get these legal issues worked so that people can willingly donate their organs, such as the cornea that we had from outside. They can donate it freely so that people can also be helped with it.
Me a sculptor, me boss statue, me the cement a boss statue. Enti me ya adwuma na do baby. A year 2007 mono, me kwa adwuma ape me hwe ade a na mani so ye me ti say enso na enante o mani so. Me de me sa paper enko. Na ade no ba na eba afe me to me hu say me hu ade a enye clear. And say me dey start call hospital. Sana fa sana ansana ye de bedu kolebo ha ansana doctor for no omo hwe eye bibi fa ho.
Thousands of such people, and they need transplants. And so I, for example, have a long list of patients who have corneal disease who can benefit from transplants, but are still waiting for the transplants to be done. Now, why do I have a long list? It's because I don't have access to a lot of corneas when I need them. And the numbers indicate that people indeed are willing to donate their tissues when they die. But even if they are willing, we don't have any system in place to harvest that. So the willingness is there, legislation is not there. And that's what we need in this country right now, quickly, as soon as possible, to have that legislation in place so that we can harvest the tissues.
Last year, together with the colleagues from the Fertility Society of Ghana and the Ghana Kidney Association, we brought together various drafts for this law, and we submitted it to the Ministry of Health. The idea was Ministry of Health to go through the documents, merge it into one piece, and then submit it to Attorney General's Department, and then for further transfer to the Parliament of Ghana for this to be passed into the law. Close to 6 months after the fact, the document is still with the Ministry of Health. Okay. And it is important that this legislation is passed.
The number one cause of blindness in this beautiful country is cataracts. And there's still tragically 250,000 poor people who could have their sight restored to perfect vision with cataract surgery. But the number two cause of blindness is corneal blindness. And it comes from infections, from trauma, from various diseases. And in 2006, we had James Clark began doing corneal transplants, and we trained the first full corneal fellow in Dr. Seth Larty at Komfo Anochi Teaching Hospital. The problem was after we trained Dr. Larty, we had no access to tissue. With the corneal blindness, the front window of the eye becomes opaque and unable to see through or distorted. And we need to remove that distorted tissue or clouded tissue and replace it with tissue from a human donated eye. There's an enormous need for West Africa and for East Africa. And I see Ghana as the place where we can find a real home for a quality eye bank that serves Central Sub-Saharan Africa, and particularly Ghana. There's a huge need. We have the expertise. We have the doctors. The time is now. We need to start an eye bank here in Ghana.
You only have to go to Parliament, first reading, second reading, third reading. If it lasts a month or two, it's over. These people will see tomorrow.
The need for us to get the legislation, the law passed, so that locally we can have an eye bank and harvest our own tissues in Ghana is more than right. The need is more than right. The time is now. The time is now for all the authorities concerned to get up and support us, to get up and get things going for the law to get passed.
Pleading with the parliamentarians are more implementing laws now. Some more na intimi emfa sa nipa kwa ni bi, which is the organs no na yemfa enye ya ye ho adwuma said the beya cost no ebeba form, because it is very, very urgent. In fact, so obusu ni bi suffer from eye issues abu say asma making very, very, very someone passing law no my is very, very urgent na yemfa more adofo a almost suffer from blindness.
Yes, Ghana.